Hey, what's going on, everybody? Jonathan Thames here of Rosie and Ernie Productions, and welcome back to the Multimedia Megafan channel. I am joined here today by a very special guest. This is my son, Jonathan Jr., and we're here today to talk about Mortal Kombat, which just came out this past Friday, April 23rd, and it was released in theaters and is also currently streaming on HBO Max. Both of us are pretty big Mortal Kombat fans. I've been a fan of... Yeah, that's true. He is more. I've been a fan since I was a kid, but he is a huge fan. So we've both been looking forward to this. And so we're going to talk about it. We're not really going to go into any super detail because we don't want to give any plot points away. We don't want to spoil the movie for anybody who hasn't seen it yet. All right, man, we're going to start off with you. What did you think about the movie overall?
I thought it was really good.
Yeah, I have to agree. I thought it was pretty awesome, and I feel like if you're a Mortal Kombat fan, I don't know, I felt like as a longtime Mortal Kombat fan, I think that most fans will probably walk away feeling pretty happy with it. Now, that being said, I think it does need to be addressed that there were some changes, story-wise, that were made.
Some that not everyone's gonna like. One change that is Kano not having the metal eye.
Right, like, now that's a character design thing, and yeah, they're now character design-wise, obviously, like a lot of things. I mean, they tried to give their own take and their own design.
Or the new character.
Now that, yeah, I have seen a lot of people that have been split about that whole element. I'm gonna be honest, I was concerned about that.
Me too. First. I felt like that maybe it was gonna be one of those things where it's going to focus on the new character too much and not enough on the current characters, the ones from the games.
Yeah, I was worried about that too.
But they didn't do that. Probably the biggest concern with it was people thought that he was going to replace Johnny Cage in this movie.
I think I remembered reading that, and I don't want to give anything away, but let me rest assured that that is most certainly not the case in this film.
When I first heard that Johnny Cage wasn't going to be in the movie, I was kind of upset because he is one of my favorites, and it is strange to see one of the key characters not in a live-action Mortal Kombat movie.
Yeah.
But once you watch the movie, you'll understand why that's the case.
Like him, sort of had issue with it. I'm not as big of a Johnny Cage fan, but, just the idea of leaving out one of the most beloved characters from back in the day, it did leave room for concern, but personally, I felt like all of those concerns were pretty well alleviated. Like, I actually thought the story was pretty good.
Hey, anything's better than having him in the movie for 5 minutes and just killing him off instantly.
Not even 5. Yeah, if you're talking about Mortal Kombat Annihilation, not even 5 minutes. We'll talk about that one some other time. Mortal Kombat Annihilation. Woo. Yeah, and truthfully, we both are fans of the original 95 Mortal Kombat as well, but in my personal opinion, I do feel like this one surpasses that.
Yeah. Not just because of the blood and gore. I feel like the characters were a bit more true to the games.
Right, and that's how I feel. I feel like that's where my concerns were alleviated on two fronts, because I thought the story was really interesting, and I thought that any of the changes that were made to the characters were deliberate and actually did add value to the story that the writers were trying to tell.
Here's one thing I really liked about this movie that they fixed from the original is that my issue with the original first two movies, the 95 movie and Annihilation, is Scorpion and Sub-Zero were incredibly one-dimensional. They just seemed like nothing more than just the henchmen of the main villain. Their backstories weren't really explored. They didn't really say a whole lot. But if you feel the same way, then don't worry. This movie fixes that issue.
Yeah, no, I have to agree. This movie gives you a very clear indication of the backgrounds of these characters and, establishes them in relation to one another.
They're pretty much on every poster for this movie.
Yeah, it's clear that this movie was really trying to set up them to be kind of the focal, outline for the film's story. And, but which, talking again about the film story, it really surpassed my expectations. I kind of expected it being a newer take on Mortal Kombat, and Mortal Kombat having developed such lore over time. I kind of expected...
Like I said, it's faithful, but it does take liberties.
Yeah, right. The writers are trying to tell their own original story based off of their inspiration from the game, and I think that they did a good job. Whereas no, it's not the story from the game. It's a story that is faithful in tone and that treats the characters with the reverence and respect for the most part. Maybe one or two characters.
Yeah, there's one character in particular that I feel like could have had more screen time.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with you. There was probably two different characters that Whereas it didn't leave me dissatisfied. I don't mean to say that, because I actually did, by the end of the movie, I found myself completely satisfied with everything that I got and felt like I just watched an awesome Mortal Kombat movie. That being said, if I were to offer up a slight critique, yeah, I have to agree. There were one or two characters whereas I didn't feel like the little screen time that they got necessarily was harmful, and it didn't leave me dissatisfied, but it would have been nice to have some more of them, for sure. And I've read people that agree with that too, that feel like there were a couple of characters that just disappeared way too quickly. But for me, it really wasn't a huge problem. Again,
one little nitpick I have is with Scorpion's design. I think it looks cool overall, but honestly, I wish it had a little bit more yellow.
Yeah, really, I thought the character designs overall were pretty good. I can see your point of view with Scorpion's design, but personally, I thought his costume, Sub-Zero's costume.
Sub-Zero's costume looks really good.
I honestly felt like I was really impressed with that, actually, with the exception, I guess, of Kano's, the cyber eye. I felt like pretty much everybody's design was very true to their design.
Except for one other character, which, like I said, we're not going to spoil who it is.
Right, yeah, and I know who you're talking about, and again, no, we won't reveal that, but it didn't bother me as much as it bothered you, but I do agree.
It didn't bother me that much, but I wish he had a...
There could have been a little bit of a different take on it, I think, yeah. One that represented a more classic take, I think, on him. Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. What really stood out, like, what really wowed you about the movie? Like, what was your favorite thing about it? I mean, again, without, like, giving any real details away, but, like, what would you say that you walked away feeling the most impressed about, or by?
Probably the Scorpion vs. Sub-Zero fight.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And I mean, absolutely. That is an epic showdown. Definitely not to be missed. If you're a fan, especially a longtime fan of Mortal Kombat, and yeah, I have to agree that scene delivers. It delivers very, very well. Because that was a big problem that a lot of people had with the older movies, was that Scorpion and Sub-Zero never faced off with each other.
They did Annihilation, but it was...
yeah, okay. Does that count?
No. I mean, I guess the fight scene was decent, but it wasn't enough to save that movie.
I don't...
Let's not talk about it.
Yeah, no, we're saving that one for another time. Now, what did you think about the acting in it?
I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, I thought that everybody played their parts well. That's for sure. I have to say probably the strongest performance was, I think it's either Mechad, I think that's how it's pronounced. And if I'm mispronouncing it, I'm very sorry. But I think Mechad Brooks, who played Jax, in my opinion, he really kind of gave the most powerful performance. The one that stood out to me as being, like, I guess, the best. Now, that actor does have a little bit of an advantage from my perspective, because I am familiar with his work off of Supergirl. He plays James Olsen, and I actually really, really like his performance on that show. So
wait, James Olsen?
Yeah, that they call him James. He's not Jimmy Olsen. He's James Olsen. Because it's an alternate timeline. It's the Arrowverse, Anyways, yeah. So I'm familiar with him, and I like him on that show. So maybe he has an unfair advantage, but I thought that his performance in this was probably the one that stood out the most to me in this one as being the most genuine. That being said, I didn't feel like I was just watching him on Supergirl, which is, again, why I guess I have to really tip my hat off to him. I thought he did a really good job. And really, I thought everybody did a good job with what they were given to work with, writing-wise. But you're not going to get any Academy Award-winning performances or anything at this movie. I mean, it's very clear that this movie's not trying to be that.
Yeah, it's really not. It's like the 95 movie in that way, where it wasn't trying to take itself too seriously.
Exactly. And I really actually appreciated that element of it, because there are some of the characters that come across as, especially in my opinion, and I won't go get away with it, but it's one of the classic characters, and when he's introduced, his lines are just kind of so fantastic and so over the top. It kind of cheesy, but it really comes across as self-aware and intentional. And for me, in other words, hey, this is the kind of movie we're making, It's Mortal Kombat. Let's have fun. So I appreciated that element of it. The fact that, like you said, it didn't try to take itself too seriously.
Let's talk about another character, Goro. What'd you think of him?
Goro is one of those characters the film definitely could have used more of. Definitely.
How do you think he compares to the 95 Goro?
When it comes to the 95 Goro, I didn't have any problems with the 95 Goro, really. Except for the fact that I'm aware that because of the physical limitations of the suit,
his movement was kind of seemed robotic, and it kind of ruined the intimidation factor for me.
I'm sure I can see that.
So I've seen some people before the movie came out saying they don't want Goro to be CGI, which, fine and all, but I'm just saying.
Isn't he CGI in the, not the old classic video games, but, everything from Mortal Kombat 9 on, isn't he a CGI character from the game? Why would they have a problem with that? That's the most accurate thing you could possibly have, right?
It's a whole practical versus CGI debate on the internet.
But how would you, even by today's standards, trying to create a practical effect that works to the same degree and is effective? I don't know. I'm not saying it can't be done, but I'm saying
I think Goro works better with CGI because
he's able to move faster.
Yeah, and a lot of the moves, if he was an animatronic, he couldn't do a lot of the stuff he could do in the game.
Right, it wouldn't look as impressive. Exactly, he wouldn't be able to pull off some of the same stuff. I agree with that. Speaking of that, the moves and everything, what did you think of the fight scenes and stuff?
I thought they were really good. They were pretty simple, straightforward. There was really no fancy camera, shaky camera or anything like that. It was very...
Yeah, no, I was very... how I feel about shaky camera.
There might have been some that I might not have noticed while watching, but I don't remember seeing shaky cam.
Yeah, it wasn't filmed like that. I really liked the style of it because it was very flowy. It was very artful. Everything was very clear, every movement. And I also thought that the gore, first of all, it absolutely delivers on what I think a Mortal Kombat fan would expect from a modern day version of this movie. It doesn't get nearly as graphic as some of the newer fatalities in the games. That's for sure.
If you're going into this movie with high expectations of seeing Mortal Kombat 11 style of gore, you're probably going to end up being disappointed because it's not that.
It's not as brutal as a match that consists of the combos and fatal blows and then the fatality and everything like that. But it delivers it in a way the best that a major feature film can without crossing the line beyond R rating. So, and like I said, I thought they did it in such a way to where they made it to where it was fun over like, oh God, I'm so disgusted by that. I think they did a good job with that. Like, that's what I mean by stylish.
And I also appreciate all of the nods they have to the games, too.
Yeah, no, overall, I was really happy with it. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a fun and enjoyable movie, as well as just a great Mortal Kombat movie. So I would have to easily give it a rating of 7 out of 10.
I agree.
This movie, I would recommend it to anybody that's a fan of Mortal Kombat. I think that if you are a fan of Mortal Kombat, I think you're going to walk away feeling pretty happy with this for the most part. I know that I was. I know that he was. But, you know, that's just our opinion. If you haven't seen it yet and you feel like going and checking it out, then come back and let us know in the comments what you guys thought. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Yeah, let us know. Thank you guys for checking out this review. I want to thank my son Jonathan for joining me here today and giving us his feedback on Mortal Kombat. I hope everybody's doing well, and we'll see you in the next video.